I'd take her in a heartbeat. Hi, this is Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle now.
No,
and Bill,
no.
That's the phrase that former Vice President Joe Biden, who is currently the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party for the presidency of the United States of America, that was his response when asked on KDKA radio out of Pittsburgh whether he would consider Michelle Obama, the former First Lady of the United States, as his running mate, as his vice presidential running mate. And I want to read you the exact quote that they put here in this KDKA story. Here it is. I'd take her in a heartbeat. She's brilliant. She really knows the way around. She is a really fine woman. The Obamas are great friends. Now, I want to stipulate up front that the campaign team of Joe Biden afterward certainly sat down with him and said, here are 3 phrases you're never allowed to use again. I'd take her, really fine woman, and heartbeat. But other than that, Bill, clearly Joe Biden needs to do something to shake up this race, and picking a Gretchen Whitmer or a Stacey Abrams or even somebody like Kamala Harris to be his running mate all presumes that he already has a comfortable lead and that he doesn't need his vice presidential candidate. Picking a Michelle Obama says he understands that he may be in jeopardy and he needs to do something to change the game. What do you think?
What did he say about her? What was that sentence he said? She's brilliant.
She's brilliant. She knows the way around. She's a really fine woman.
No, she's not. So 1 out of 3 ain't bad, I guess. My first response is to go back to the response with Hillary Clinton. Now, Hillary Clinton later went on to become Secretary of State and a senator and so on. So that makes her about as qualified as anybody else, I suppose. But early on, before that happened, the idea that, it was going to be a co-presidency, and people were saying that, and to some degree saying right up until 2016, look, if I need brain surgery and I go into the hospital and I'm told that the brain surgeon is not there, but his wife will be performing the brain surgery, or her husband will be performing the brain surgery, because they've been married to the guy for a long time and they've been around hospitals. That's not an argument. There's nothing that Michelle Obama...
Look at the list. I mean, it hardly takes a brain surgeon to be president of the United States.
No, that's true. But then you have to ask, if you're going to go with the low bar argument, we'll just end the episode right now, because absolutely true. Yes, there is. If you're so cynical that you're ready to run a guy who doesn't really know where he is anymore and is obvious to everybody except himself, including his wife, who continues to push him out there. If you're dealing with a party is that cynical, then you have a party that has no ethical standards or morals standards other than power. So you have to ask yourself, what would make Michelle Obama qualified to be president? Has she ever run a large company? Of course not. Has she ever run a small company? Nope. Has she ever done anything on her own merit? Apparently not. She got a hospital job for $300,000 a year because she was married to the Illinois representative or senator, whatever he was, before he hit the national scene. She didn't do anything, and then she left. So does she have a lot of experience in terms of government? Has she had to deal with politicians and form coalitions? No. What about her ethical standards? Well, she was disbarred. Okay. So what have you got left? Well, she's black. Oh, really? Really? And what else? Well, her last name's Obama. Well, now, we have a chance now to bring in a person who observed the worst 8 years of economic growth in the modern period, but none of that matters to these people, because none of the progressive values are based on anything other than surface appearance and a lust for power. If they wanted to do a better job for poor Black Americans, which has always been their claim, then no one did a better job for them than Donald Trump ever in history. So it's not about making poor Black Americans better or richer or anything. It's about finding somebody who allows them to use their identity politics to continue to gin up the racial divide in this country that they've stoked so brilliantly, and both in the Obama administration. So yeah, why not? Why not Michelle Obama?
Well, I think the case could be made that in many ways, like Donald Trump, Michelle Obama has a certain cachet with a certain group of people. President Trump, while he was during the campaign, they were trumpeting him as a great business person. In reality, a lot of his appeal came from the fact that he was out there in front of the American public for a long time on a TV series that was very popular. And so people felt that they got to know him. Michelle Obama has published a highly successful book and has gone on a tour and has spoken on many TV programs. And so she kind of has an Oprah Winfrey-like cachet that might make her, I mean, people will look at her and they'll say, well, you know, she's going to get experience by being vice president. Should she ever need to become president, then she will have been in that role and will have some experience.
Well, if trends continue, she'll have about a week of experience as vice president. Everybody understands that the Democratic that in 2020, the Democrat vice presidential candidate is the presidential candidate. Everybody understands that. And if they don't understand it now, by the time we get out of the debates in the convention, we most certainly will understand that the vice president that the Democrats are putting up is the president that the Democrats are putting up. So let's go to your example. You say that Michelle Obama wrote a book and is well known in front of the public. And Donald Trump had a TV show and also wrote a book and is well known in front of the public. That's true. But Donald Trump got a TV show and his book because he spent an entire career as a businessman making billions of dollars dealing with negotiations, trade agreements. He's had to deal with foreign countries as a businessman. He's had to manage enormous staffs, had to get rid of people that weren't working, put in people that were. He had to deal with every single aspect of a business, and he had to deal with aspects of the governments as well, since he did a lot of business overseas. Now, before Michelle Obama wrote the book, she did, that's where the difference is. And this is the part that I find to be somewhat significant. One person had a gigantic career and then wrote a book. The other person married a guy who also didn't have a spectacular career, and then she wrote a book.
Now,
the guy who she married got to be president because he wrote a book, because somebody wrote a book for him.
Joe Biden is not going to try to get Bill Whittle's vote. He knows that. He's you know, Bill is a 4-4 Republican, and he's not going to get his vote. But what Joe Biden may think of doing is saying, you know what, we've got to find somebody who's got a lot more appeal than I do. We've got to find somebody who can stand on her own two legs in front of a group and be able to take the heat. And we've got to find somebody who is appealing to not only the mass of Democratic voters, but to a large swath of independent voters. And while she may not be necessarily appealing to moderate Republicans, there are a lot of moderate Republicans who would just as soon have somebody other than Donald Trump in the White House. And so basically he would use her to chip away at the base of people who are not yet fully committed to Donald Trump as you are.
Well, if you're a Republican and you would rather see Michelle Obama as president of the United States than Donald Trump, then the term Republican has no meaning whatsoever. You're not a Republican. There's nothing Republican about you. If you actually believe that Michelle Obama would be more conservative than Donald Trump, and you call yourself a Republican because that's a conservative party, then that's just plain false advertising.
I don't think anybody thinks she'd be more conservative.
Well,
that wouldn't, and you know it. That wouldn't be the reasoning.
Then if you're a conservative, then why would you vote for her? And if you're a Republican, if you're not a conservative, why aren't you a Democrat? Look, you're right about the premise. There's no question that she would generate some excitement, and much more importantly, because the Democratic Party lives by identity politics and has divided the nation along racial lines, Michelle Obama would do an awful lot to turn out the black vote that the Democrats need in order to win. If black voters don't break for the Democrats 85-90%, they never win again. And so I have no doubt that Joe Biden's running mate will be a black woman. None. He's already said it's going to be a woman. So why not Michelle Obama? Then you ask the question, well, why not Oprah Winfrey? And to be honest with you, I think Oprah Winfrey is far more qualified than Michelle Obama, far more qualified than Michelle Obama to be president. Oprah Winfrey has run a business successfully for 30, 40 years now, or whatever it has been, 80 or 90 or whatever the case may be. You can make a much better case for Oprah Winfrey than Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama is nostalgia, and so is Joe. It's the nostalgia for people who thought that the Obama years were golden years because the guy had a nice smile and he was good at cocktail parties. And despite the fact that there was women out of work and Hispanics out of work and blacks out of work, and the economy was sluggish and nobody was making any money, and our defense situation worsened, and we cozied up to Iran, and we kissed China's butt, and all the rest of the stuff that happened didn't happen during the 8 years of Barack Obama. Liberals are nostalgic for that because he seemed like he would be better at a cocktail party in a New York skyscraper than Donald Trump, which I have no doubt is true. And if that's your criteria for who should be running the country, then okay. But you don't really get to stand on this is better for the common people and we're doing this for the working class. This is like Nancy Pelosi talking about, well, we shouldn't go back to work yet. We should stay at home while I sit here with my $26,000 refrigerator and enjoy my $12 quart of ice cream. That's what this is all about. The Democratic Party has for long not been the party of the little guy. And if they decide to go with Michelle Obama or Oprah Winfrey, they will pick up some votes that Joe Biden would not have got by himself, but they will also lose some votes from people who thought that Joe Biden was a centrist and an old school Democrat. And I suspect that by the time we get out of the debates, nobody's going to be able to believe that he was whatever he might have been or told you he might have been. He's certainly not that now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just had a chance to take a look at factcheck.org because Bill said something earlier in the program that I have not heard before.
Factcheck.org.
And I want you to do your own research on this, and maybe Bill has further elucidation on it. But the claim that Michelle Obama was disbarred as an attorney is challenged by factcheck.org, that basically says the Obamas both surrendered their law licenses like many people would if they were no longer practicing in a profession that had a license, because they didn't want to keep up with the requirements of continuing education and pay the annual fees and do all that when they're not actually functioning as a lawyer. They could both, according to factcheck.org, both could practice law again if they chose to do so. They didn't lose their law licenses as a result of any kind of activity on their part other than failure to renew those licenses.
I don't particularly have a lot of confidence in factcheck.org, but let me simply say this. If it turns out that that is in fact true, then I owe her an apology. That was a misunderstanding on my part. If it turns out that that is in fact true, that there were no reasons for her being disbarred, then that was false information on my part, and I apologize for that particular
and a widely circulated potential misunderstanding as well.
I sincerely, if that is true, if it's true, I sincerely apologize. I did not know that. Now I do. I won't make that accusation again unless I can source it, but And so that's just me. That's just a question of me being wrong. If it turns out that's true, and
yeah, we'll check that out and provide a link in the description below.
So I withdraw. So I withdraw that particular criticism with apology, a sincere apology. Because I was wrong about that.
Well, if it's any comfort to you, Bill, and a lot of people watching, Joe Biden, while saying that he would take Michelle Obama in a heartbeat as his vice presidential running mate, acknowledges that she doesn't want to live anywhere near the White House.
Now we get to the main point.
Yeah, it says that even if the opportunity presented itself and he offered her the role, that she would decline it because she never really enjoyed being in that world and wouldn't want to return to it.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think Michelle Obama enjoyed being first lady very much. Certainly, the amount of money she spent and the vacation she took and the entourage she took with her and the entire luxury hotels that she rented, all of that stuff is a clear indication that Michelle Obama very much liked being first lady. But I don't think she'd enjoy being president at all. I just don't think she would. There's never been any evidence that she's fond of hard work in her career prior to that. I think I can say that with some confidence. And I don't think she has any desire to do it. And now we get to the more interesting question. And that is, if Joe Biden throws out a flare saying, I need some excitement here or something, then the question becomes, would the person in question do it? Let's take, for example, Michelle Obama or Mario Cuomo. He's already out because he said he's going to
Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York.
I keep saying Mario. I'm just stuck in the
son of the now deceased Mario Cuomo.
Yes, when I was saying that, when I said that Joe Biden had committed to having a woman running mate, I was thinking about his brother Chris. By
the way, the former Vice President Biden will not commit to seeking a black female running mate. He does say that the ticket should look more like America does, and so that he would choose a woman. And he thinks it's long since past when America should have had a female president, and it should have been Hillary Clinton, but that he won't commit to saying he's going to pick a black female.
Okay, right. I didn't state that he had committed to it. I just said that's almost
just
certainly what he will.
Commentary there.
That is almost certainly what he will do. So the big question is, would you take it? If you're somebody like Kamala Harris or somebody like that, I think you would take it. If you're Oprah Winfrey or somebody like that, I don't think you do. And even if, let's just say for the sake of the argument that Andrew Cuomo was still on the table, having not been excluded by Joe, Andrew Cuomo would strengthen the Democratic ticket enormously, despite the outcome in New York. But would it be smart for him to do it? Whether they like it or not, Joe Biden is the head of the ticket. And he's the guy that's going to have to do 3 debates with Donald Trump. And I don't think those are going to go well for Joe Biden. So the question is, look, here's pretty much how it works. In America, you generally speaking, modern American politics, you get one shot at president. If you blow that, you're pretty much done. It's almost unheard of to rerun the same candidate for president more than once in a row. I'm trying to go back to the last time that happened, where somebody lost twice. And I think you have to go back to, like, was it Dewey maybe, or Wendell Willkie or somebody like that? Adlai Stevenson, I suppose. So that's, 70 years. So you get one shot at this. And so the question is, if you're somebody like Andrew Cuomo, who I understand is already off limits, or any of these other up-and-comers, do you take a chance against Donald Trump and Joe Biden and know that that's it? Or do you wait for 4 years, develop your ground game, and then come back in 2024 with presumably a stronger argument against Donald Trump and then no Donald Trump to face? Because no matter who succeeds Donald Trump in 2024, it's not going to be Donald Trump. And Trump is a phenomenon. It seems to me that if you were a savvy politician, you'd have to be pretty desperate to take the Joe Biden offer. There are people who will do it. No question there are people who will do it. But I don't think anybody of major consequence would do it. And I don't think Michelle Obama would do it for any number of other reasons. But just the fact that he's saying what a great president she would make is an indication that the Democrats are about nothing other than telegenics. I almost said telegenetics. Actually, to be perfectly honest with you, I meant both of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're grateful to the members at BillWhittle.com who've made this program possible by their monthly and annual contributions. They are a growing band of committed conservatives and, frankly, a lot of fun. These are people that you're going to enjoy getting to know in the comments section. You wouldn't know it from this show. And the member-written blog. In addition to, you'll find that in our backstage episode of Right Angle, which you don't get to see unless you're a member, there's a lot of fun in that too. And so sometimes things can get pretty intense in this show in particular, and there are some serious issues that we discuss. But you'll also, I think, enjoy the company of your fellow members when you go to BillWhittle.com and click that Become a Member link, which I encourage you to do right now. For Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks for watching.